Welcome to Did You Know the Heart of It, a short podcast from Gloria Deo Academy. In each episode, we unpack the heart behind our schools, practices, and philosophies so we can grow together in our shared mission to raise lifelong worshipers, lifelong learners, and lifelong servants. Whether you're driving, folding laundry, or catching a quiet moment, we're glad you're here. Today's episode is from GDA to the World, College and Career Readiness with a Kingdom Mindset. And we have two guests on the podcast today, Arlene Gonzalez, our admissions director. Hi, Arlene.
Hello.
And Kristen Kent, who has graduates that have come out of this classical model. And we're going to dive into what it means to have this college and career readiness with a kingdom mindset. But can you guys first tell me a little bit, like Arlene, would you start us off and tell us about your position at the school, and then also that you had some kids graduate as well?
Yes. So again, my name is Arlene Gonzalez. I'm the admissions director here at the school. I also help the students with their college readiness, college advising. And I have two daughters. My oldest graduated in 2021, and my youngest graduated 2 years ago. This year is my 10th year here at the school.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's exciting. You've seen it change and grow a lot.
Yes, definitely.
Lots of good growth. Yeah.
Good things happening.
Kristen, can you tell us a little about your family?
Yes. Our family was one of the families that initially started at GDA the first year that we started. We had a second grader, a third grader, and a fourth grader.
So when you say the first year, do you mean the first year the school opened?
Yes, the very first year that the school opened.
So you've been at the heart of the school since the very beginning.
Yes.
Since it was founded.
Yes, we have. And our two girls ended up graduating in 21, one of them with Arlene's daughter, and then our youngest graduated in 23, and then our son was here through 10th grade, and then his last 2 years, he ended up at a different school, which is given us a little bit of perspective in that as well for, just kind of the difference in what Gloria Deo brings versus other schools too.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a great conversation. Let's jump in. And the first thing I want to ask is, our students are receiving a classical education with its emphasis on things like truth, goodness, and beauty. But how does it translate into real world skills that colleges and employers today are looking for? Arlene, could you answer that first, maybe just from your admissions director role?
Yeah, so I believe that in a classical education, it's not just about memorizing facts. Our students are learning how to think. They're learning how to ask good questions, communicate clearly, solve problems. And just like you said, we're teaching them, what does God say about what is true, what is good, what is beautiful? And all of these things are real world skills that colleges and employers want.
They want kids who can ask questions.
Yes.
Maybe not kids, but young adults.
Yes, and they want kids or students who can make wise decisions and lead well.
Wise decisions and lead well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kristen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would, as I kind of look about, truth, goodness, and beauty, that kind of translates into, there's a purpose for learning. There's a reason behind learning. It's not just learning to get facts, but there's a learning to understand the world around them, how that learning translates into skills. I have our oldest, and she's a graphic designer for a creative company, and just her ability to learn quickly has been something that has been a positive.
The skill of just being a learner, like we say, lifelong learners.
Yes, and really also not only learning, but also understanding how to learn and how to sometimes teach yourself in places that you may not have all the information, but you can take information and then you can translate that into, okay, how do I need to do this? Or how do I ask the right questions and those things? And so I think all three of my children, I've seen that benefit them not only in college, but also in the workplace as well.
For employers.
So just to give you maybe a very simple example of that, of one of our students going into college and taking advantage of a tutor that will help her make her paper better. And it's not that the student was struggling. They had a really good understanding, a good grade in that class, but they simply wanted help to learn more and be better. And that to me is an example of exactly the skills. They're doing
Like a
it.
real world skill. Like what I'm hearing you say is to know where they're at in a project or an assignment when they, in college, or even a project and employment later on, to assess where they're at and where they need to be, and then how do they get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and because they are a learner, they love to learn and just be better at whatever skill they're learning.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, we know in our culture today that it often values test scores and technical skills kind of above everything else, but we want to instill other things in our students. And so I want to ask Kristen, how did you help your students become not just competent, but also wise and compassionate leaders? I think we mentioned some of that wise and compassionate earlier.
Yeah, I think one of the things is as you are working with your students, one, as a parent, the blessing of the classical and model, but not only the classical, but what Gloria Deo is, where you as a parent are involved in your children's education. You have the ability to kind of set the tone uniquely within your home. And what that translated to us is, a lot more hands-on when my kids were little, encouraging them, kind of like Arlene was talking about a little bit, of not being satisfied with just, okay, we got the test done, but did we do it well? Did we do it to the best of our ability?
Kind of establishing the culture of your family.
Right. And then from that translated into, as I got older, really stepping back as a parent and letting my children start to take ownership for their own learning and their own desires. And, it's easy to get focused on grades. Each child is unique and different. What we would talk a lot about in our house was not just simply grades, but really, did we do something to the best of our ability? And that was what God calls us to do. What I've seen then, because we've kind of set that culture, and again, that was also, I felt at Gloria Deo was also encouraged. So that kind of
collaborative model.
Yes.
Encourage parents to take the lead role.
Yes.
We are co-teachers, and we are responsible for diligently teaching our children.
Yeah. And I think what I would add to that is, in a classical model, I think our students see that modeled in their teachers, what it is to see compassion and wisdom. They see that being modeled. One of the things that, have in conversations with my own daughter, how a classical education impacted her life now in college. That is one of the things that she says, having teachers and professors in this model, she's able to have conversations with them and to learn from them and to see these things modeled in that.
I think our staff and teachers, educators here are invested in helping each of our students become the best of who God made them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that really developing that wisdom, like you were mentioning, Kristen, that it's not all about the grade, but did I give my best? Like, if this is how God designed my strengths and weaknesses, did I do my best on this assignment or project, my learning? And as parents, we have the honor and privilege to do that, to cultivate wisdom that's not all about the skills, the academics and the technical skills. There's more to it. We want our kids to both experience compassion for others, and then from that, be able to turn around and give compassion to others. Well, beyond academics, continuing this kind of conversation beyond just the academics and the grades, how do the family partnerships and not just family, but community life in general at GDA kind of equip the students with the things like fellowship and support and resilience that they'll need in college and career settings?
I think one of the things when I talk to my children about this, some things that are unique about Gloria Deo is the fact that students kind of create the ability to have fellowship, support, and resiliency within things like the house system. So one of the comments that one of my daughters made is, house really required her to learn how to step up and do some leadership roles. And it also allowed her to interact with people that maybe kids from a wide range of different grades and personalities. So maybe it wasn't the person that you would necessarily sit with and would be your buddy at lunch, but now you're learning how to interact with a wide range of different people. And that really is true to what it's going to be in college. And that's also true to what it's going to be when you're in a career. So I think just learning how to be compassionate within that type of setting, learning how to support other people and encourage other people that are different from you was just a really big benefit as they walked out into college, because that's going to be true whether it's in the group project in college where you're having to learn how to work with a group of people that maybe you wouldn't have chosen to work with,
Right.
but pulling all those skills together.
And this was from her experience in the house system.
Yes.
So I'll explain that a little bit. Some of our listeners might be of younger students and may not be aware. But when our students reach 7th grade, they're put into one of 4 different houses, and each house has a house name and a house president. There's a lot of different service and leadership opportunities. They have a lot of fun together on things like house tournament and house lunch. Katie Playfair, our Dean of Culture, has really developed that house program to be, like you mentioned, a place for them to interact with others, maybe not in their immediate circle of friends, different ages, different kids.
I think one of GDA's strengths is that students grow up being known here.
One of GDA's strengths is that students grow up being known here.
Yes. And I mean, I can give you several examples of that. I've had, families who their journeys take them somewhere else, but then they come back and they're able to tell you, I am known here. My teachers know me. My teachers love me here.
That's beautiful. To be in a community where you know that you're known.
Yes. And it goes with what Kristen is saying. Our upper school students, they all know each other by name. I think that's beautiful. I know that our students know what good community looks like. So when they go to college, they know what it is and what it is not.
Yes.
And that to me, just knowing the two things, even if they make mistakes, they know what to come back to and what to look for in a community. Just in how our students look for churches when they're in college, they, like my own daughter, she has learned what a good community looks like, what to look for when, and every time she visits a church, she researches what is their mission statement, what are they about, who are they. So even they learn how to know what to look for. It's incredible.
Last question, and I'll give you each a chance to answer it. But if you could give one encouragement to parents about why investing in this type of education matters for their child's future, what would you say?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen, and we kind of touched on this, is just a love of learning how to think, not what to think. I've really seen that in my kids as they've gone to those next steps of college, and then also through college and into employment. I've seen the benefit of them knowing how to learn, knowing how to take information, to apply that information to different, whether it's a college class or it's in an employment situation. And so I just think that has been a huge benefit that my kids have been blessed with going into college and into careers. So,
yeah, I would definitely say the same. I think our kids, going back a little bit to community, because I think that is really important. Our kids learn how to build healthy relationships. They learn how to work through conflict. They take responsibility of one another, and knowing those things help them wherever they're going to be, because we are people. We're living with people. We're working with people. The number one thing that we want our kids leaving our school knowing is, what is the gospel? Who are they? And what is their purpose? And I think that when a student is truly invested in this, not just parents, but also students, because they have to be invested as well.
Yeah.
If they truly believe these things, they go into college making better choices because they are making choices in wisdom, and those things take them to better opportunities.
I think that's a huge encouragement to parents, and it even gives parents some freedom, just knowing that, we don't know the path that God has laid out for each of our kids. And all of our kids are so different. We may not know his plan for their lives, but we can take comfort in knowing that, like, they're learning how to learn, not just what to learn.
Exactly.
And if we're raising them up to know the Lord and to know the gospel, then we can rest easy. We can give our prayers to God and thank him for the goodness of this type of education that we're blessed to be able to give our kids.
One thing that really attracted us, to just a biblical worldview being espoused. So school is not going to be the sole establishment. Your home has to start there. But just having that reinforcement of a biblical worldview, to be able to learn under a biblical worldview, I've seen how that has benefited my students, my kids who've ended up in 3 very, very different types of colleges. The blessing of having their grounding in a biblical worldview, as 2 of them have been in colleges where that has been encouraged, but one has not, but just still having that foundation, how that has shaped my son's ability to learn, how he views things and things like that. So
he responds to everything around him.
Exactly. And also to really, truly discern truth and error, right? Because he's getting that, and he's having to grapple a little bit with truth and error and different things because he's in a more secular college. But he is able to recognize that, and it filters still through that biblical lens, which is a huge blessing, and ultimately was what our desire for our children going out into the world was, to have that foundation of a biblical worldview. Now, as we walk into the world, now we're looking at information all through that lens, not ideally through a secular lens.
I love hearing about all of your answers to these questions, because I can't wait till I'm sitting there and my kids are grown and they're discerning truth and goodness, and they're living out their lives and just trusting in the Lord with their steps and knowing how to learn and not just what to learn.
And we do hard things.
And we do hard things,
Arlene and I have talked about this, like doing the hard things. Like, it was better to do hard things here within the context of a home environment than to move to college. And so, like, thesis was tears, right? But
it's hard.
It was hard, but man, that paid off. Writing, no issues. Like, I was just talking to Abby. She's like, "Oh yeah,
they can write for their college classes."
At least
These
people
don't know how
page paper. That's a piece of cake to them.
Yeah.
Because they had the experience of having written a thesis when they were seniors. Yeah.
Maddie or Abby was just, I said, "Okay, what midterm?" Well, we have a 12-page paper. Some people are worried about that, but that's nothing. It'll be done,
Yeah. I love that advice for parents too, because so many times we hear, especially in my role with community and co-teacher development, it's hard. It's committing to this education. It's hard for the mom too, but when you think about, like, yes, but we're all going to do hard things together, and we're going to learn that we can do hard things.
Yeah.
And then how much more just confident and prepared can we be for when life throws hard things at us later? Whether expected, something we signed up for that's hard, or unexpected.
Yeah.
And that they can do that,
She had to present a graphic design piece, and her graphic design teacher pulled her aside, and she's like, where did you learn to present or speak like that? And she's like, well, in high school. And she said, well, how were you educated? She's like, well, I was classically educated. And
this was a professor?
This was a professor from Liberty, her school. And she's like, I don't see college students being able to stand in front of an audience, present information, and
speak so well.
And so
that rhetoric.
Yeah. So, and rhetoric was not easy. I remember some tears with, Mr. Professor's making us stand up with it too many, but that all paid off. I mean, all those things.
And they stand out in college and career later on.
They do.
Yeah.
It's
worth the investment.
It is worth the investment.
Just hang in there.
Yeah.
It was good. It's really good.
Well, thank you both so much for being on here today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate having you. We know that finding a school that partners in discipling your child without compromising your family's values can feel overwhelming. Gloria Deo Academy offers a collaborative, classical Christian education where your child can authentically live out their faith and thrive academically and spiritually. Find out more at www.gda.academy. Thanks for listening.
And Pilgrim's Progress was one of those ones too, because they started out, they did the Little Pilgrim's Progress. We read the Little Pilgrim's Progress when they were.
Now, I know some of our teachers read that one in the little schoolhouse. They'll read it aloud on school day. So they've heard it through Little Pilgrim's Progress. Then they get it again in 6th grade with Pilgrim's Progress. And so you guys are telling me they get it again, maybe?
They might have changed.
We have to check that right now. But that they assimilate it differently every time.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Especially because they make different mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
So then they relate back to the book differently each time as they're aging and growing.
So that's what I love that seeing. And it's been fun, just even too, just like what the timeline came up the other day in a conversation. I think it was with Abby, and she's like, oh no, that was da-da-da-da-da. It was the history timeline in conjunction with the church history timeline. So it was just like, 586 was the fall, 722 was the fall of Israel, and 586 was the fall. How do I know that? From listening to the timeline.
It's been in the timeline so many times.
Yes.
And when you have 3, I definitely think when you hit like 3 kids or more, like you as mom, you're going to know those timelines too.
Came in
4th grade. Yeah. And it's been fun to see. My youngest is in a classical college. So it's been fun to see that taken to the next level, which is way beyond.
Okay. Does she love it? Is she enjoying it? The classical college?
Yes.
I really think that, yes, it's parenting too. Most of it is parenting. But your kids love to be with you.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
It's, most college students are not like that.
No.
They love and can't wait to come home, and they miss you. And
well, and one of the things Josh said, because I asked him, I was like, well, I talked to them all about the college, and one of the things he says, I knew, because you were involved in what I was doing in my education, I knew that if I needed help in college, that my first resource was to come back to you and say, okay, help me solve this problem, And the difference is now it's a lot of times me not solving the problem, just pointing him to resources to help him solve the problem himself. But he was quick to seek guidance versus I know that wasn't true of a lot of his friends, to
recognize when I need guidance, but then also to have the compass to point back home.
Yeah. And or to communicate too, just like we had trouble with his advisor, and I'm like, okay, is your advisor, he's like, he's supposed to sign off, and he just like signed off. I'm like, did you meet with him? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, that's all right, and just so helping navigate some of those things.
But you orientate them, but then they go with it.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. They definitely
kind of point them in the right direction.
Yeah, she's as tall as me.
She's so beautiful.
She knit us all our hats. So that's all our knitted hats.
Oh, that's so cute. It's so fun. I love that they still talk to each other.
Yeah,
They're good friends. It's like the friends they make here, they last.
Yeah.